Hi, everybody. Welcome to English Digest. I'm Stephanie.
I'm Tom.
It's our animal unit today, and we're going to be talking about the very mysterious and fascinating owl, which has kind of some really cool attributes to it. The fact that it can turn its head around in so many different directions is pretty amazing. We're going to find out, though, that it can't really turn its head around completely,
right?
Like 360. That's not really the case, but almost. Do you know much about owls, Tom? Have you ever had a pet owl?
No, I don't think it's a good idea to keep birds as pets. You know, that seems to be a crime against nature. They've got wings. They should be free to fly wherever they want to and not stuck in cages. But to answer your question, I don't think I've really seen owls before. I think somebody pointed one out to me, but it was really dark, and I just saw an outline there in the tree. And so I can't really say I've actually seen an owl before. And that is true because they are active at night. Mostly they are nocturnal.
They are. I actually have seen one during the daytime, but it's unusual. They're pretty cool. I wanted to explain, too, when Americans at least are speaking, we say owl, owl. But we're going to try to say owl for you, but we don't take the time to say owl. Normally, we just say owl. Have you seen that owl? So if you hear that, it might be that we're saying owl. But they have long fascinated people, it says here. They have a very distinctive appearance and mysterious habits. I think some part of the reason why they're mysterious, I think, is like you said, Tom, they're not around during the day. They're only around at night, and most of us are in bed asleep. Although I have friends who are kind of like night owls. That's why we call the people who stay up really late and like to then sleep in. That's not me. I'm a morning bird. What would you call those? Just a morning person. But this particular animal does most of its work at night. Tom used that word nocturnal. It means active at night and sleeping during the day. Mysterious just means we just don't know everything about it. It's got a lot of secrets around it, or maybe it just seems like we don't understand too much about it. We're going to learn more today, though. I certainly learned more just reading the lesson before we started.
Okay, so let's get to it, everybody. Let's listen to our article read now from top to bottom.
Who's that? Owls explained. Owls have long fascinated people with their distinctive appearance and mysterious habits. These nocturnal birds possess large round eyes and a flat facial disc. Their feathers come in shades of brown, gray, or white, helping them blend easily into the darkness. The most remarkable trait of owls is that they can turn their heads without damaging blood vessels. Contrary to popular belief, they can only rotate their heads up to 270 degrees, not 360 degrees. Owls have 14 cervical vertebrae, and that's twice as many as humans have. This special physical structure compensates for their inability to move their eyes within their sockets. The flexibility of their neck also allows them to scan their surroundings without moving their bodies. Perfectly adapted for nightlife, owls rely on their exceptional night vision. Their enormous eyes contain a high number of light-sensitive cells, allowing them to detect the slightest movement of prey. Even more impressive is owls' ability to fly in complete silence. Thanks to specialized feathers that minimize noise caused by air friction, owls can sneak up on their prey. Owls carry profound symbolic meaning in many cultures. In Greek mythology, they are associated with Athena, the goddess of wisdom, which contributed to the expression, as wise as an owl. In Japan, owls are often viewed as symbols of good fortune and protection. Partly because the Japanese word for owl, fukuro, sounds similar to phrases meaning no hardship or luck on the way. Owls appear in many books and films. One noted example is Hedwig from the Harry Potter series. If you ever encounter one, take a moment to appreciate this extraordinary creature.
Okay, let's talk about the contents of our article for today. Who's that? Owls Explained. So, as we're growing up as kids, of course, we think that owls make the sound hoo, hoo, hoo. We think it sounds like the English who, so that's why we have this title, Who's That? And we're going to explain owls. I did want to say that the word owl is kind of unusual. I think it comes from Dutch or German or something like that. And they were trying to imitate the actual sound that owls make. And as you know, of course, there are many different kinds of owls, and they probably have different sounds. So I don't know what the owls in Taiwan sound like here. You've got the Taiwan Scops owl and many other ones here. They probably have different calls.
Those are cute, the ones we have here in Taiwan. They seem to be much smaller than the one I've seen in real life. But yeah, they are fascinating animals. We talked about how they're mysterious. They're nocturnal, so they're really active at night. They hunt around at night. If you go out and you're out late at night, sometimes you can hear them make their call, their whoo sound. Whoo, whoo. Probably have a lower voice than that. Who knows? Yeah. So that's kind of fun. They have really large, round eyes. And I was saying to Tom before we started, this description of having a flat facial disc was kind of weird. So I looked it up online. I said, what does that mean if an owl has a facial disc? A disc itself is described as being flat, thin, and round. But it actually has more to do with the way that the feathers on the owl's face and body are positioned. It actually helps him hear better, which is really kind of interesting. So another thing I learned is owls' ears aren't symmetrical. They're asymmetrical. One's higher and one's lower. They have incredible hearing. We'll learn more about that in a minute. But their feathers come in lots of different shades. The one I saw was more brown and white, I would say, but you can also have gray feathers. And it helps them blend easily into the darkness. A lot of times we can hear owls if we're, for example, out in the forest. Maybe we're camping. I've heard owls when I'm camping, but I've never seen them. I only saw one when it was daylight, which was weird. It came into our yard, but maybe it was hunting something. We had a lot of like, what do you call those little animals that dig holes? Gophers.
Gophers, yeah.
We had a lot of gophers, and they're pretty good hunters, those owls.
Indeed. And of course, as you said, they come in different shades of brown, gray, or white. I think some of them actually come in yellow and other kinds of colors.
Wow.
So this is blending into the background, or as it says here, blending into the darkness. So like your Chinese term, 迷彩, we could say it's kind of like camouflage. Okay, so it's kind of the color of their fur, or their feathers, I should say, to make them very difficult to spot when they're out hunting, and that makes it easier for them to pounce on their prey. Now, here in the next paragraph, it says, the most remarkable trait of owls is that they can turn their heads without damaging blood vessels. So that is a special trait or a characteristic that they have. That's what a trait is, a special quality that something or somebody has. And yes, they can turn their heads and the body stays still, but the head turns. And they can do this without damaging blood vessels. So if we try to do that, we might be stretching the blood vessels and the muscles and the tendons in our necks. And if we turn those things too far, if we turn the head too far, we might cause some damage because we're not designed to turn our heads that far. But owls don't have a problem with that. Maybe their blood vessels are kind of long and stretchy or something like that. A vessel, of course, is something that carries something inside of it. A vessel could be a ship on the ocean, a sailing vessel, for example. But here we're talking about blood vessels. They're kind of like the tubes in your body that carry blood all over the place.
Yeah, they also will use vessel to talk about ancient artifacts in museums. They kind of look like hollow containers where you can hold liquid inside them. But a blood vessel, of course, is carrying the blood back to your heart, and the artery is carrying the blood from your heart to the rest of your body. So they have a different makeup. Their structure is different, which allows them to turn their heads like that Whereas if we turn our heads too far or if somebody else helps us, it could, that's one way to kill someone. So be careful with that. Contrary to popular belief, they can only rotate their heads up to 270 degrees and not that full rotation, which is a full 360 degrees. When you say contrary, it just means it's the opposite of something. So contrary to popular belief, it's the opposite of what most people say. Oh, those owls, they can turn their heads 360. No, they can't. But pretty close. 270 is pretty amazing to me.
That's more than I can do for sure. And if they have to go a little further, I'm sure they can kind of turn their bodies as well so they can see a full 360 degrees. Owls have 14 vertical vertebrae, and that's twice as many as humans have. Now, here we're talking about cervical vertebrae. Cervical has to do with the neck and the backbone. Vertebrae, of course, are all the little bones in the backbone all working together because we can't have one backbone. Otherwise, we couldn't actually bend over and do things like that. So the backbone is not just one bone. It's comprised of many smaller bones. And the same is true of owls. They have 14 of those little bones, and we're calling them vertebrae. Okay, vertebra is the singular. That means one or two of those little bones in their back. So vertebrae is the plural of that. And again, we're talking about the vertebrae in the neck or the cervical vertebrae. And they have 14 of those little bones in their necks, which is twice as many as humans have. So that means humans have only 7, and that's why we can't turn our necks as far as owls can.
Yeah, they have a really special physical structure, the way that they've been designed. So this compensates or makes up for their inability. They're not able to move their eyes within their sockets. Our eyes move back and forth within the sockets. So that's kind of a cool invention that came from heaven there. So, yeah, they can't move their eyes like we can in our eye sockets, but they can move that neck and their head around, which is really kind of cool. Now, they have a really large, you would say, a large ability to be flexible. Their neck is very flexible. If you're flexible, you have a great ability to bend and move easily. If your kids, do you ever watch the kids? They're very flexible, they're bendable, and they don't break as easily as we do as we get older. As we get older, we get more and more brittle and easily broken. So they're very flexible, their necks are at least, and allows them to scan their surroundings without moving their bodies. It's kind of nice. They don't have to expend any energy or effort. They just kind of sit on that branch in the tree, and they can scan or look around at all the surroundings and use that fabulous hearing they have to see if they have any possible prey in the area, animals that they can go and kill and eat for food. So that's a pretty amazing structure that they've been blessed with.
Right, and remember, flexibility is the noun. The owls have great flexibility in their necks, and flexible, of course, is the adjective. I should mention also that occasionally on social media, people post videos of owls that they have at home. So I guess some people are trying to keep them as pets, and it does seem that they like to be pets just like cats and dogs do. But still, I'm of the opinion that owls and other birds should be free to fly wherever and whenever they want to.
Oh, I agree. Before we leave flexibility, I wanted to mention a new slang phrase in America, and that is the verb flex. So if you flex, it means you're showing off, you're bragging, you're displaying something, or maybe even a skill or a talent that you have in a way where others will notice. Sometimes guys would flex their muscles. I think that's where it came from, to flex those biceps and show off to the good-looking girls out there. Here's an example. He flexed his new phone at school. Or as a noun, you would say, buying 2 sports cars is such a flex. So that's a very new slang phrase that's out there right now. You might want to pick it up if you're in that younger generation.
Yep, use it when you hang out with all those beach bums in Southern California. They'll just love you for using modern American slang. Okay, that brings us to the midway point in our lesson for today. It's time to turn things over now to our Chinese teacher.
听众朋友大家好，我是安娜。我们今天要带大家一起来看看猫头鹰神秘面纱之后的真相。嘿，猫头鹰真的好可爱，眼睛好大，然后呢，脖子好像能够360度一样这样旋转，对不对？其实不是360度哦，其实是270度。好，我们不管啦，赶快先来看一下。当然，文章第一段一定会先描述一下哦，这个猫头鹰啊，外表就很出色啊 ，distinctive appearance。然后呢，还有一些很神秘的习性。那我们在第一段的第二句啊，先把一个形容词抓出来。第二个单字这个 nocturnal 这个夜行性的这个字要记一下哦，因为人有时候也会有夜猫子，对不对？动物也有夜行性的，这个算是生活用字啦吼，我们把它记起来。那么接着我们在第一段第三句的地方，因为有提到哦，这个猫头鹰的羽毛有棕色啊、灰色啊、白色啊，有各种不同的色调。特别注意一下动词片语这边的 come in。Come in 在这里不是进来的意思哦，这个 come in 你一定要把它学会，尤其到了高中英文，它可以特别指的是，比如说羽毛有各种色调啦，或你去买衣服有各种不同的尺寸啦 ，the shirt comes in different sizes， 或者是有这个鞋子有不同的颜色啦。中文的那个有在英文当中的应对，我们要特别仔细的思考一下哦。好，那接着就来到了第二段咯。第二段啊，特别就讲到猫头鹰，我们刚刚讲说，哦，头好像能旋转360度，对不对？没有，其实是270度啦。当然，除此之外啊，就是有一个很重要的事情，为什么他们可以旋转这么多度呢？他们的颈子是因为啊，第三句，其实他们的颈椎有14节，是人类的2倍。好，这时候就回到我们的倍数的讲法，在英文当中，倍数的讲法，你只要把倍数放在as 的句型前面就可以了。所以在第二段第三句，我们先把最后面的 as many as humans have， 这是我们在高一的时候会学到的句型，像什么一样的如何如何。第二个 as 是像的意思。好，所以像人类拥有的 as many 那么多，到底有多少呢？哦，原来啊，这个猫头鹰的颈椎数除以人类就是刚好是2，所以是 twice。2 times 2倍那么多，这个倍数的用法就这么单纯。
We're going to take a quick break. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Welcome back, guys. We're talking about that fascinating, mysterious animal called the owl. They're nocturnal birds, which means they like to be active at night and sleep during the day. They have lots of feathers that are made in such an amazing way that it actually helps them hear better, which is amazing to me. But they have feathers that come in lots of different shades. I know Tom mentioned they have the feathers like more closely aligned to yellow. I would say maybe tan or beige feathers. Yeah, I've seen that myself. So they have remarkable traits. They can move or turn their heads 270 degrees, and it doesn't even hurt them. That's because they were blessed to have 14 cervical or neck bones that we don't have. We have half that amount, and so they can really bend and move much more easily than we can. So this is a very physical or special physical structure, and it gives them some flexibility because they can't really move their eyes in their sockets like we can. Our eyes move back and forth. Theirs don't, but they move their head to compensate for that. We also found out that they are adapted for nightlife. We're going to talk about why they are nocturnal birds.
Right, so it says they're perfectly adapted for nightlife. Don't say adopted for nightlife. Adapted means they've changed through evolution. They are suitable to exist at night. And owls rely on their exceptional night vision. So they're able to see in the dark pretty well. I guess they can see infrared and ultraviolet light or whatever the case may be. And their enormous eyes contain a high number of light-sensitive cells allowing them to detect the slightest movement of prey. So that's probably the main reason why they can see so well. They've got all these light-sensitive cells in the backs of their eyes there, so they can pick up low amounts of light, just like modern camera sensors.
Cool.
Digital camera sensors can get up really high ISO, 3200 or whatever. That's pretty sensitive. You can shoot those or take pictures in low light, just like owls can. I think the owls probably see better than our digital cameras do.
Yeah.
But they can detect the slightest movement of prey. So if something is slight in this particular case, that just means it's very, very small, almost unnoticeable, almost to the point where you can't really see it. But they can detect that slight movement, even if a rat kind of moves its tail a couple of millimeters to the left or something. The owl can see that and then fly down and pick up that hapless rat and take it home and have a nice meal.
Ooh. We've mentioned this word prey a couple of times. It's just an animal that's hunted and eaten by another animal. That's what they like to eat. So even more impressive is the owl's ability to fly in complete silence. Now, this I did not know about. That's amazing. Because I would think anytime you even flap your wings, you're making noise with the air, with a different air pressure that is moving around. So this is thanks to specialized feathers. Again, these feathers are pretty amazing that minimize or reduce noise that's caused by air friction. And because of this, owls can sneak up on their prey. So when you talk about friction, it's tension between two things. So when you have that air friction, it's usually going to make noise, but it doesn't here. And so that allows them to sneak up. If you sneak up on someone, you're being very, very quiet and kind of wanting not to be found out, right? When I was young, I would sneak downstairs into the kitchen when my mom wasn't around and try to put together a recipe of chocolate chip cookies before she could hear me. And I got very, very fast and very quiet. But I got in trouble after a while. She figured out what I was doing.
Yeah, mothers aren't dumb. They know what you're up to.
Yeah.
But in any case, yes, they don't have a lot of air friction on their wings. Friction, of course, is when something rubs up against something else and is slowed down. Mm-hmm. We have friction in our wheels, for example. So, of course, to reduce the friction, we use ball bearings or we use oil or whatever. So there isn't that friction. If you have friction, of course, you're going to have a lot of heat, and that's no good, especially for wheels or things like that. And in this case, they don't have a lot of air friction. When they soar through the air, they might actually make some noise as they're taking off, maybe. I'm guessing as they flap their wings, but then when they soar down toward their prey, they probably don't make any noise at all.
Ooh, that's how they sneak up on them. So owls also carry profound symbolic meaning in many cultures. Here's one, for example. In Greek mythology, they are associated with Athena, who is the goddess of wisdom. And that's where we get that phrase that we use, as wise as an owl. Be as wise as an owl. If something's symbolic, it stands for or represents something else. And here, Greek mythology are all those old Greek stories about gods and heroes that we have from history. It's very fun to look at that. Associating with somebody or to be associated with means you're connected with them in some way. I know that some of us are associated with particular sports teams or, I don't know, any sort of talents that you have. You can be associated with different things. Maybe you've got a particular group that you like to hang out with. You can be associated with lots of different things. I always associate peanut butter with honey or jelly because I grew up eating peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. And
PB&J.
And peanut butter and honey, too.
Indeed. So they think of her, they think of the owl as having something to do with Athena, and she's the goddess of wisdom, which, again, as you said, contributed to the expression as wise as an owl. I would like to say, though, I think that even though owls are pretty smart, I think crows are smarter than owls, but that's a subject for another day. Now let's go to Japan here. In Japan, owls are often viewed as symbols of good fortune and protection, partly because the Japanese word for owl, fukuro, sounds similar to the phrases meaning no hardship or luck on the way. Okay, so I guess fuku in Japanese means luck or something like that. So fukuro means no hardship, or it means luck is coming. Forgive my Japanese there because I only took about a semester a couple of years ago. But in any case, that's the Japanese word for owl. That's kind of similar, I guess, to the concept of a bat in Chinese because bianfu has the character fu in it, which means luck. So bats are seen as lucky in Chinese culture. And because of the way the word for owl, the way it's pronounced in Japanese, that makes it sound like it's something lucky as well.
And to finish off here, it says owls appear in many books and films. One noted example, one that people are familiar with, is Hedwig from the Harry Potter series. There were a lot of, I think there were 7 books. I can't remember. I read them all.
I read the first page of the first book. Okay.
Did you see the movies?
Just little bits of it here and there. I wasn't really a big fan, but maybe if I read the book, I would have, fallen in love with it or something.
No, I mean, the movies were okay, but the books were great. If something is a series, guys, it's a group of things that come one after another, usually has similar characters. So you'll follow one character from one series to another, like Star Wars or some of these Marvel movies. Those are series in a lot of ways because they have the same characters. So if you ever encounter one of these mysterious and fascinating owls, take a moment to appreciate this extraordinary creature. It's pretty cool.
Okay, we're at the end of our explanation for today. It's time now to turn things over to our Chinese teacher.
那当然讲到了这个脖子可以转那么多倍之外，还有第三段就是猫头鹰的夜视能力。所以来到了第3段哦，有蛮重要的，像第一句呢就是分词构句的句型。分词是什么意思啊？动词 ing 就是一种现在分词，而我们背的 PP 就是过去分词。分词构句通常都会在句首出现一个分词，虽然在这边我们看到的是副词 perfectly， 但是副词通常我们会先把它遮掉，对不对？接下来来到了过去分词 adapted for night life， 被适应用来夜生活。什么东西要被适应啊？逗点之后的 owls， 这个猫头鹰才会是真正适应的主词。所以其实分词构句它就是一种句子简化的概念，本来逗点前面要用一个完整的句子，包含动词来呈现猫头鹰去适应夜生活这个动词。那么逗点之后呢，依靠他们的夜视能力，又有另外一个动词叫做 rely on。所以有时候我们既然句子拉那么长，当然对大家来说理解就要很耗力啊。所以如果能够简化的就简化，像在这里都是在讲猫头鹰嘛，所以就直接把连接词也省略，直接用分词开头就好。这个是分词构句的一个概念。当然接下来第3段的第2句也很重要，因为这边有一个关系子句的简化。句子为什么会这么长呢？就是因为关系子句的简化。什么东西简化了？逗点之后的 allowing 先还原是 which allow， which 指的是什么呢？就是逗点前面的 high number of light sensitive cells。原来眼睛里面的大量的感光细胞，逗点 which allow them， 这就让他们可以侦测到猎物最细微的动作。但第3段还告诉我们很重要的一件事情，我们或许不知道，其实猫头鹰可以在完全无声的情况之下做飞行因为它们的羽毛是非常特殊，它们的羽毛啊可以让空气摩擦的噪音降到最小。在第3段第4句就是在陈述这个概念。不过这里第4句呢，我们要特别注意有2个关系子句哦。第一个关系子句从前面的 that 一直到逗点这个地方修饰的是先行词 specialized feathers。 那第2个关系子句呢，则在这个关系子句里面，也就是逗点前面4个字 caused by air friction。 当然第2个关系子句是一个简化的关系子句，省略的是 which is。 那么讲到这个猫头鹰啊，除了它本身的特征之外，还要谈谈它在文化当中象征的意义。例如在第4段当中，我们看到因为希腊神话里面它跟智慧女神雅典娜是有关的，所以在英文当中我们可以说，哇，这个人啊跟猫头鹰一样的睿智。第4段第2句最后面的地方，我们可以把 as wise as an owl 这个地方画起来， 当然这里 as 的句型跟我们刚刚在第2段第3句提到的倍数句型是一样的哦，像猫头鹰一样的有智慧。当然在日本的文化当中，因为日本的猫头鹰的单字听起来就有这个很吉祥啊、不劳苦啊、福来郎的这个意义，所以在日本当中猫头鹰啊也是很正面的含义。以上就是我们介绍猫头鹰的神秘面纱，希望大家喜欢。我是安娜，我们下次见。
That's it for today, everybody. Thank you for joining us. Also, remember to check out our extra content on YouTube and Facebook. And hopefully you'll become bird watchers now after listening to our program and head out to the mountain areas of Taiwan and bring your binoculars and try to find some owls. From all of us here at English Digest, I'm Tom.
I'm Stephanie.
Goodbye.
Bye.